Rowland S Howard is one of Australia's finest and most influential artists. Whilst not a household name like his old bandmate, he remains just as essential in terms of his sonic innovations. Rowland joined the Boys Next Door in 1978 with the aspiration of sharing songwriting and vocal duties with Nick Cave. This dynamic was entertained for a year or so, but as the boys began morphing into the birthday party, Nick assumed sole vocal duties and began looking towards Mick Harvey as his primary writing partner. Being forced away from songwriting and singing pushed Rowland to become more expressive with his primary instrument, the Fender Jaguar. He developed a sound and playing style that is instantly recognizable and caught the attention of acts like the Jesus and Mary Chain and Sonic Youth, who would build their own legacies using blocks forged by Rowland. After the birthday party dissolved in 1983, Rowland served with Crime and the City Solution on guitar and keyboards until the band restructured in 1986. It was then that he finally launched his own group. These Immortal Souls were formed with Rowland's longtime friend and partner, Genevieve McGuckin, on keys, his brother, Harry Howard, who previously joined him in Crime and the City Solution, on bass, and Kevin Godfrey, aka Epic Soundtracks, also previously of Crime, and British experimental punk group Swell Maps, on drums. The band's first 3 shows were supporting Sonic Youth, Primal Scream, and the Gun Club around London in 1987. They cultivated a sound somewhere between a Stooges snarl and the doomed circus air of the Doors at their most apocalyptic. These Immortal Souls only released 2 full-length records in their time, and both of which have only been pressed once, making them very hard to find in the wild. Get Lost, Don't Lie arrived in 1988, followed by I'm Never Gonna Die Again in 1992. The lifespan of These Immortal Souls can be roughly divided into 3 phases. The late 80s to early 90s, during which the band resided in London until Epic left the group shortly after recording I'm Never Gonna Die Again in early 92. He was replaced by Chris Hughes of True Spirit until the end of 93, at which time the band would return home to Melbourne. The mid-90s saw Rowland assemble a temporary lineup for the first few months of 1994 to play the fledgling Big Day Out Festival and a handful of headline shows along the East Coast. This short-lived iteration included Spencer P. Jones of the Beasts of Bourbon, Chris Walsh of the Moodists, and Peter Jones from Crowded House. In 1996, Jen and Harry return, who along with Spencer and new drummer Craig Williamson populate the group as a 5-piece through sporadic shows before Spencer retired from the band in late 96. The remaining 4 would play less than 10 shows in 97 and 1 farewell performance in 1998 at the Greyhound in St Kilda on the 23rd of July. This is a pretty mythical gig with Melbourne's own Hungry Ghosts, who were apparently incredible on the night according to first-hand sources, and one of Rowland's frequent esteemed collaborators, Lydia Lunch, in support. The release of the career retrospective 6 Strings That Drew Blood box set has come and gone, as have reissues of both Rowland's solo albums, so the time is ripe for These Immortal Souls to return to our turntables. Fragments of correspondence from the band's Facebook page, which is now run by Harry and Jen, have revealed little tidbits about what we can expect from these reissues. Apparently, they should be dropping sometime mid-next year, and most excitingly, it's a box set. I imagine there will be individual releases coming out down the line, but the first issue will be as a multi-LP box set that is going to include at least 1 live show. Live in LA has been tossed around a bit on the Facebook group, so I'm assuming that it's going to be this 1988 show at the Screen, but we will just have to wait and see. These albums and singles have always been presented in beautiful fashion, so I'm sure that whatever they come up with, it's going to look amazing. And what of the 3rd album that never was? According to the exhaustive online database from the archives, a 3rd album was partially or maybe even fully recorded in 1997. It was provisionally titled Handsome Devils and Cigarettes, which I think is an incredible title. I'm not going to hold my breath for that white whale, but it sure would be something to receive, any recordings from those sessions. Around the time these reissues were officially announced, Victorians were treated to a pair of shows from the band's surviving members Harry and Jen, who recreated the band with the help of Brett Polinis on drums and the incomparable JP Shiloh of Hungry Ghosts on guitars. The group shared vocal duties along with some guests including Kim Salmon, Adelita, and Mick Harvey. It was really great to see these songs being celebrated live again, and I just can't wait to see what comes of these reissues in the fullness of time. So, are you as jazzed about these reissues as I am? Were you lucky enough to see the band in the 80s or the 90s? If so, please comment below. I'd really love to hear your stories. My name is James. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.